guys, welcome back to another episode of Head Over Heels. It has been a while. I know. And today it's just me. I don't have any guests. It's just me and you catching up on life because I realize after doing this podcast for so long, I think we're at like our 20 plus episodes already since season 1. That's pretty crazy because per episode is like an hour plus. And I just think back about the first few episodes, how long it took us to kind of like get it up and to where we are today. Not too far away, but it has been quite a journey. And I realize most of my episode is just me talking to people, me trying to, understand what they do, what's their story like. And I realized that I never really do one-on-one episodes like this, like just me and you chatting about life. And I want to do more of that because I think this relationship that we have, I'm talking about me and you, by the way. Yeah, you listening right now, if you're folding your clothes, driving to your next destination, just got out of an argument or just having some alone time because it's been a crazy day. Yeah, that's you that I'm talking to. So it's just a thought that I had recently because we actually took a short break. As you guys know, we didn't have an episode for like about a month. And the real reason why is because, there are two main reasons. One, we wanted to upgrade or update our set. So if you do watch this on YouTube, you will be able to see it visually. But if you're on Spotify all the time, then it doesn't affect you. We wanted to like do a refresh to the set. And that takes some time with the whole ideation, measurements, getting people to come on board to kind of like get it done and fitting it into our budget and what's the aesthetic that we want. So that took some time. So we're still in the midst of it. And I realized, you know what? I don't want to wait. Fuck it. I'm just going to record an episode. And the second reason is, as y'all know, if you do follow me on Instagram, I just moved house. And it's the most intense, crazy experience I've ever had. I think overwhelming because it's like my first big purchase as a big girl, right? So that was something. I'm going to talk about that shortly, actually, because a lot of you asked me in my NGL link the other day. So this episode is brought to you by you. All your questions inspired this episode. So the content are all your questions and me answering it. Okay. So moved house and then work post-COVID was insane. I think September, I felt like I didn't breathe. I felt like time didn't exist. The next thing I know, it's already mid-October. So it's that crazy for me. And because of that, I think I haven't really been taking care of myself as well. I had to skip therapy like 2 sessions. Like one session was because my therapist was not feeling well. And then the next one was, I had a job. So I had to cancel therapy so that I can take up my job because your girl spent a lot of money on renovation. So I've got to recover from those losses and I'm still recovering. So I am still financially wounded. And we will talk about the renovation costs later on. Just have been busy living life. So today is just really, I don't know, I just miss talking to you guys because I find myself talking to myself a lot. Like in the car, I will pretend I'm on an episode of podcast and I just kind of talk. And then I'm like, wait a second, why don't I just do an episode? So what if I don't have a guest? I think the whole idea of this podcast has always been to have the relationship with you, to kind of like have you get to know me and I get to know you and I get to know so much of you through your DMs and your stories that you send in. So I think today it's all about that. Okay, let's catch up. So one of the NGL questions, I don't know why they call NGL. It's not going to lie, right? Not going to lie question means I cannot lie when I answer. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, I was talking to Bella, by the way. Okay, first question was, what's new and how are you this season? Okay, what is new is I changed my IC's address to my home address. You don't understand how big of a deal this is. This is a little bit, it sounds like, Maggie, it's just an IC, relax. Like chill out. No, it's not. A background story. I grew up in Ipoh. So my very first IC when I turned 18 was my Ipoh address. And then we had to sell the house. So I had to update it to my mom's address, which is, my mom lives in JB, so JB address. And and it has been a bit mafan, because I've lived in KL for like 10 years. And a lot of times when I apply for like, I don't know, insurance, big girl things, loans and stuff, it goes back to my JB address. So like all these important letters or whatnot, it gets sent back to my JB address, which is where my mom stays. And sometimes I don't want her to know my big girl things. You know what I mean? And thank God, my mom, I love you, mom. She cannot really read English lah. So, and funny story is, I actually never told her I bought a house until you guys knew it first. She saw my Instagram, but again, my mom's not very good with English, so I don't know if she knows, but I only finally confessed to her that I bought a house like a month before I moved in. Because she's going to ask me, why your house look different? I'm pretty sure she's going to ask. So I didn't want to like do it like on the day I moved in. So I gave her a month before, I gave her a heads up. But throughout that past 8 months, right, the bank's been sending letters to my house, And she's been taking picture of the letters that she receives and tell me, hey, she calls me Kaka, 这个是什么来的? And I'm like, oh, mom, nothing. So it's actually my new house loan approval and purchases and all that details. It's just funny that she doesn't know. Yeah, I love my mom for it. So, but anyway, that's the whole reason why I feel like, okay, I cannot tahan anymore. I think, I'm 30 this year. I'm going to have a lot more big girl things. So I think it's time to update, finally. So the process was rather simple. It's just that I didn't really prepare much. I went to the PJ branch, the JPN PJ branch. In case you have to update your IC anytime soon, just go to JPN. It's very simple. It depends what you want to apply it for. If you lost your IC a couple of times, I think the penalty, the fine, the payment goes up to about 1,000 ringgit. That's crazy how much they earn from people just losing IC, right? But if it's things like changing your address, is only 10 ringgit. And please bring cash. I don't know why we're in 2022. They still don't have cashless payment. It's annoying. But yes, bring cash. That's the most important. Bring the exact amount lah. I don't know. Later they say, tada, do it. They cannot change it for you. Also another annoying thing. So bring cash. And it's actually an hour-long process. Like by the time you apply it, I think you can actually collect it within the hour. But for me, I only arrived at 3-something, and by the time I finished, waiting in line was an hour-ish. They were about to close already, so I definitely couldn't receive it then. So and also the branch that I went to, that's the Kota Damansara one, which has much lesser people, by the way. So if you don't want to wait too long, you can go there. But the thing is, I think it's a very old branch that doesn't have a lot of updated facility, technology or whatnot. So they can't actually print out the ICs there. So you will have to pick it up somewhere else if you want it like within the day or the next day. So I picked the Jalan Duta branch to pick it up. And it was a quick process, really. And what do you need? I got a lot of questions when I posted up on my stories, is that you actually only need a proof of your address, just so they know that address that you're updating to is not made up, it's real. So like your electricity bill or your tenancy agreement, if you're renting, you can change it to your rental address actually. But if you're only going to live in the rental address for like a couple of years, a year or less, a year or two, you're going to have to update it all the time, which was why I never bothered changing mine the past 10-ish years in KL, because I never had a permanent home and I just never knew where I will be next. And it just didn't make sense for me to be updating my IC every few years. I don't know, maybe people do that, but I didn't know I could do that actually. So yes, you can actually change it to your rental address. I checked it for you guys. You can do that as long as you have proof, that address is real. So actually, right, I went to do some research yesterday. It says people who live in a rented residence for more than 90 days are not excused from the regulation. So technically, as long as you live there for more than 90 days, you have to update. But again, guys, do your own research. I don't know. Don't take my word for it. I didn't change for 10 years. I didn't get into any trouble because my address in my IC is legit as well. It's also my house. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Okay. And what's new? What else? Oh, guys, I know. I have to confess something. We all know that the parliament has just been dissolved. And it's a big conversation in our country right now, especially if you're Malaysian. My fellow Malaysians, hello. If you're not Malaysian, you can skip to the next part of this podcast, I guess. How do I put this? It's crazy that this is going to be my first time voting. I am not proud of it. And I'm shaking just confessing it here to so many people on the internet. But I feel it's important that I come clean. And I'm going to tell you why it's my first time. I just never bothered. I was one of those youths, you know, the ones that in newspaper articles would say, youth are not bothered by politics. I was one of them. Yeah, I was one of them. And I was one of them who would say, yeah, it won't even affect me one lie. I don't even know what's happening in parliament, what the hell all these politicians are doing. I was one of them. And another, I would say it's a very legit reason lah, huh? But again, I don't want to justify my excuse. I just want to share. Is that it was a very troublesome experience for me. And I'll tell you why. So I know my mom lives in JB. But again, my mother never changed her address since she was, I don't know how many years old. So she has to go back to Ipoh to vote, right? So my address, the G14 time, was in Johor, JB. So I didn't know to vote is just that one day. There's no another day, right? It's just one day where everyone does it all at the same time, the entire nation. So the day I had to go vote, only I realized my mom's not going to be at home. She's going to be in Ipoh and I have to go back to JB. Do you guys see the geographical trouble right now, like the crisis I'm going through? So also my fault lah, I never planned ahead, but also I didn't know lah. That's why, right? So yeah. So that's why in GE14 I didn't vote, but of course I think we won by a landslide. Like that victory made me so regretful. Like that was the moment where like no more excuses. The next GE I am going to vote. So here I am confessing that I'm not proud of myself for never really bothered because. It's not just about what happens in the parliament. It is our livelihood. And I realized this in the past 5 years, especially during the pandemic. You see how important a government, our leaders are, and how it affects our livelihood. You guys have seen the news. You guys have seen what some of these leaders say on the internet outrightly. It's frustrating. So extremely frustrating. It angers me. And it angers me even more that I made it happen because, your girl here didn't vote the last time, so I have to shut up. I cannot say much, right? So, but I'm not going to make the same mistake. So I was ignorant. I was so unaware. I completely disassociated myself from that world of politics, thinking that it will never affect me in any way. The truth is, it affects every single part of our livelihood so long that I am living here in Malaysia, so long that you're paying income tax, so long that you live, work, earn, and survive here in Malaysia. So I don't want that to be you. If you think that it's so overwhelming to kind of go for a vote, to know who to vote for, I get you. Until now, I don't know what's going on. But I'm trying to start to ask questions because now I come clean already, right? So I cannot act like I know everything. So I would ask question. Hey, wait, what do you mean? What is dun? What is this? What does this MP do? And if I were to do this? So I ask a lot of questions. That's the first step I can take. I follow people who talk about them, who guys, TikTok is everywhere and there's so many people doing great content that's out there to educate yourself. So I will be posting them on my stories whenever I find any. So go follow them. That's one way. And of course, we have people like Syed Saddiq, Hannah Yo that are always sharing so much about what they do. So you can kind of see there's so many resources out there. It's really a matter of whether or not you want to take that first step and initiative to learn and understand about it. And that's all I'm going to tell you. This episode is brought to you by the old Maggie that was ignorant. Don't be her. Go vote because it makes a difference. And that's all I can tell you. If the least we can do is to cast a vote, that one day where we may need to be under the rain or the sun, whatever, if that's the one thing we can do, okay, someone's constructing, I think, can you guys hear the hammer is telling me yes, yes, yes. If that's the one thing we can do is to vote, guys, it doesn't cost us a thing. I hope you go for it. I will go for it. Hold me accountable. If I don't post that my finger got the ink right, hold me accountable. And pray to God, Jesus, please, I know it's monsoon season, please give us sun on that day. Please, I know it's scary and I have to drive back to JB. So I'm a bit scared lah. I can't ask Joseph drive me because he also have to vote, right? So I will figure this out and you will figure this out. And speaking of voting, because I recently changed my IC, right? And a lot of you said, oh, Maggie, does that mean you have to now vote in KL already? Does it automatically change? I did my research for you. Does that mean your polling station will change just because you update your IC? The answer is no. I don't know if you understand BM, but let me read it out for you. The official statement on the SPR website. Sekiranya pemilih bercadang untuk berpindah tempat mengundi, dia hendaklah terlebih dahulu memohon untuk pertukaran alamat di kad pengenalan di CPN. Means if you want to change your polling station, you need to first change your IC's address. That's step 1. Selepas itu, bolehlah memohon untuk pertukaran alamat tempat mengundi dalam daftar pemilih di mana-mana pejabat PRN, Pilihan Raya Negeri, Ibu Pejabat SPR in Putrajaya atau pejabat pos berkomputer. Oh, they are non-computerized pejabat pos, I guess there are, di seluruh negara. And I checked. Obviously, I recently changed my IC, my address, and I want to change and update my polling station. It will take 3 months to reflect, which means for GE15, if you plan to change your address, it's a little bit too late right now. As of today, I'm recording this on the 13th of October. It's too late if you want to change your polling address for GE15. And that's the hopefully helpful information that I can give you, because that's all I can give you. And why does it not automatically change? Okay, apparently there is some akta. You basically cannot lah. Long story short, very mafan lah. Okay, they will just follow your original address for the voting address. But if you want to change after that, you need to do it manually. Okay, it won't automatically change. So please don't assume that it's automatically changed unless you change it yourself, and it will take time to reflect. Okay, let's move on. Happy voting, guys. I'm excited and scared and nervous at the same time because I don't know how it works and it's my first time. So please educate me. Drop me some DMs later, okay? And yeah. Oh, another thing, guys. Oh my gosh, I've been doing my research. See, I'm taking steps. There is also beyond the ballot. If really you are not eligible to vote, actually no, if you're 18 and above, it's automatically, registered already. I found out that you can also volunteer as PACA. PACA means polling and counting agents to monitor elections. So if you want to be on the neutral side but still contribute to elections, that is one way for you to do so, to volunteer as a PACA. Okay, and how do you do it? I think it's on the My SPR website. Go check it out. And yeah. All right. So those are some new things that I've learned and new things that's happening in my life. Being a responsible citizen and a homeowner. So yes, let's talk about my new house. Everybody's been asking. I don't have much answer. The team, Ryan and Bella, asked me earlier, hey, Maggie, so how's your new house? It is exactly as it is the day I moved in. I didn't have much update, to be honest, because I think I moved in about a month ago. And the day I moved in, I'm not even joking, I'm blessed. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for the job opportunities that came in because I need to recover from the losses from the renovation. But because of that, I really haven't had time to actually sit down or like go to furniture places and talk to my designers or like my carpenter on what I want to build. I hope to do that soon towards the end of the year when things kind of slow down for holiday season. And I think I'm really taking my time because it's going to be my forever home and I'm still letting it sink in. I don't know how to explain the feeling, but it has been a very long process, but also a very, very fulfilling one that I'm very, very proud of. But yeah, the reason why I haven't shown you guys any parts of my house is because it's still pretty empty and like bare. And another thing that I talked about recently is the whole thing about doing house tours. I think in the very beginning, I was excited to like want to do a house tour. But the more I think about it, I'm kind of like feeling, I'm taking a step back with that. Like, I don't know how influencers or like YouTubers online where they kind of show every part of their house. I don't know if I will be doing that. I know a lot of you requested for house tour and me doing what I do where I put myself out there. Those questions will come and I expected it. And, you know, it's normal. I'm fine with it. It's just that I also want to kind of draw my own boundary where and when I can, that I'm not sure if I will be doing a house tour. Not that I'm explaining or anything. I just want to put it out there because I do share lots of parts of myself because I feel like it's such a personal space and important sacred space for me. I feel like there are some things, as much as my life is pretty public, it's already public, guys. This is what I do. I love doing it. There are still some things that I want to keep for myself. And I really hope that you guys will be able to respect that and honor that for me as well. But having said that, of course, I spent so much on the house and so much time and effort and money. I do want to be able to share and showcase some parts of it. And I'm very, very excited to do that. And the most common question that I got really is, how much did I spend? I can give you a range because I'm not going to lie, it is still adding on every single day. Okay, not every single day. There are still a lot of things that I haven't completed. So the amount is kind of like adding up. It's, let's just say within the range of 80,000 ringgit cash to 100,000. Okay. Obviously, I know some houses, it really depends, really. I think you can't compare my renovation costs with yours because there are so many factors that comes into play. I think we talked about this in our previous episode with Suyen and Melissa Campbell, where we talk about all things renovation. It really depends on the scale, the extent of your renovation. It depends on the materials that you choose. It depends on the complexity of the design. It depends on a lot of things. So, but the one thing you definitely need is cash up front. So my piece of advice for those of you who are looking to buy a house, don't do it because people are asking you to. I think I've said this before as well. Do it because you know you are ready for it, because the amount of money that will cost you is quite a bit. The taxes, the management fee, the little hidden cost that you don't see until after you actually take the key, right? That's when you have to start paying lawyer fee, mortgage. Also depends if it's a new house or an old house. So yeah, I think don't be pressured to buy a house just because everyone else is doing it. I personally have been planning and saving up for this for a really, really, really long time. And I know people in my industry, we flaunt a lot. We, in some ways, promote consumerism, like buy this, buy that, buy this, buy that, buy this, buy that. And the one thing that I hold to myself, I make sure I keep myself accountable is that I don't fall into that trap of needing new things all the time. But of course, full disclaimer, I'm very blessed and very thankful that I do get a lot of things and receive a lot of things for free from the brands that I work with. I am fully aware about the privilege that I have. But it's also easy to fall in a trap of, having to keep updating my look, impress people with what I have, an LV bag, Chanel, Prada, so I look cool. And I'm just proud that I'm never that person. I actually have never purchased. Oh, I purchased one luxury bag. It was 900 ringgit. Coach, my very first one that I bought last year. But I've never really been, how do I put this? I never really felt the pressure to having to have to buy branded goods to impress. And if I ever want to buy, it's really for myself. And because I know I can afford it. But as of now, I cannot afford because I'm broke, and that's okay. When I say broke, okay, guys, I'm not like with no money lah. Okay, I am a bit financially wounded, but also because I've prepared for it. So it's like a planned financial wound, if I make sense. Like I know I just need to work hard and recover the finances, and I'm not like left with absolutely nothing, and all I have is the house that I bought and the debt that I now have with the bank. No. Okay, so I don't want you guys to think that, oh man, all these influencers buying houses, buying branded goods, driving big cars, how do they afford it? Guys, I don't have an answer for you because I also want to know how they afford it because I don't know how they afford it. I cannot afford that. So it really is, it can be deceiving, You just don't know how a person manages their finances. Could it be because, again, I'm just giving a blanket statement. I'm not saying anyone on anything. I'm sure people can make decisions for themselves. What I'm saying is you just don't know if that person is using their entire paycheck to buy something so that they can flaunt it. Or is it because they actually can afford it? So don't compare your journey with other people. Again, easier said than done. I myself have been in this loop of comparison for a long time, especially in the recent few months. Not gonna lie, there were a few times I feel so stupid thinking about it, but that's really how I felt. And I see a few people like all these YouTubers or celebrity buying like big houses. I'm talking about houses, they are huge and they're gonna cost millions. And I'll be like, man, why can't I be like that? Then the sane Maggie will slap me and say, wait, you just bought a house also. Can you relax? Like slap me back to reality, right? Stop comparing. My goodness. What the hell is wrong with you? Aren't you proud of yourself too? So like I have this pep talk with myself like all the time. And of course, sometimes Joseph does that for me. Like, bro, you bought a house too. What are you talking about? Stop comparing. Everyone walks different journey, walks a different track. You don't know how much they have to begin with, family support, or are you someone who had not much family support from start? So you're gonna have to pay for rent your whole life. So the money that you earn kind of goes back out, whereas someone else may be able to save them in their bank or invest them, which is why maybe they have a little bit more than you. So that's what I'm trying to say. There's just so much that goes into play. So the long story short is, guys, let's be kinder to ourselves and not compare. That's all I can tell you. Although we are wired to compare. We are wired to want to be better than other people. I feel like that's just how we are as human beings, right? When we see someone with better things, bling, better glitz, better glam, we want a piece of that too. And that's completely normal. But what is not is if you go out of your way to kind of live other people's life, not knowing your own capabilities, that's going to kill you. Well, not literally, or maybe. So don't do that, okay? So cheesy, but girl or guy, boy, girl, you are enough. You just need to remind yourself that, okay? Okay, oh my God, I went out of topic. Wow. There are so many other things I want to talk about. I actually plan to do an episode with my designer, my interior designer, Carmen. Shout out to Carmen. I plan to bring her on for an episode. And when it happens, I will be putting up a story poll for you guys to ask questions on all things designing home renovations and stuff like that. But I won't get into details in this episode. And the next thing that's been new to me is therapy. I think I also get lots of questions about how does therapy work and how much is per session and why do you go to therapy? I go to therapy because I want to be a better person. I go to therapy because I want to understand myself better. I go to therapy because I don't know myself. And I go to therapy because I can finally afford it. So I did it about 4 years ago. It was my birthday. I think I said this before as well. It was my birthday, and it was a birthday present to myself. That when I could finally afford that my tabung for that, I went for it. And I told my therapist, this is my birthday present to myself. And I found out that I think my birthday this year, she told me I was her first and only client who's ever told her that I decided to invest in myself for my birthday. So yeah, I'm very proud of myself for doing that. And I hope if I share this and I'm able to also inspire you to do the same, please go for it. Instead of buying something for yourself, you can always buy something for yourself. But when do we ever think about investing in our own minds? And I'll tell you why. Because today I woke up and I saw this quote, and it says, "You live most of your life inside your head. Make sure it's a nice place to be." Right? And like I said, I was just telling you about how I compare myself. I completely invalidated my own achievement just by looking at another picture that someone posted. Sometimes my mind is not a nice place to be. And that's why I go to therapy, so that I have the tools, I have the awareness, the knowledge to make it a nicer place to be. It's going to be a work in progress. I slip so many times. I still get into bad, terrible arguments. I still get into terrible spiral when I overthink and when I get anxious. So yeah. And speaking of anxious, I actually have been going through anxiety a lot. The past actually this month especially, like just going into a restaurant can give me anxiety. Restaurant with a lot of people, and just being at home alone, my heart would just palpitate and race, thinking about what I have to do. Like I have not been taking care of myself, and I feel like my anxiety is kind of like a sign, like, yo, like my body telling me something, Maggie, something is not right. It's time for you to take care of yourself. So just want you guys to know that having anxiety moments like that is completely normal. I go through it all the time. I may not talk about it all the time because, well, Instagram, social media feels like a place for highlights only. I just sometimes feel like, should I put my lowlights on it and be that party pooper for everyone else? And I feel the same way because, like, when I put up my NGL link, a lot of you said sorry for being such negative person. And I don't think you should ever apologize for that. So don't apologize to me for sharing how you feel. I open up my space for you. I welcome you to do that. Okay? I obviously won't be able to answer to every single one of them, but I think I've said this many times before. I set myself out to do this. I feel like this is my mission in life, to be able to provide this space for you that I never had. And that's the least I can do. I don't know. I don't want to sound like Oprah or whatnot. I'm not trying to change the world, guys. I sometimes don't even have an answer for you. But if I can just hold space for you, and that's the least I can do, I'm more than happy to do so. And again, doing this sometimes can be draining. I sometimes just need to know where I draw my own line in the sand to tell myself, I too need to practice what I preach. And I guess sometimes I don't do that. And the whole idea about this podcast really sometimes isn't to give you answers. Sometimes I don't have answers for you. I don't have a solution for you. it really is for you to hopefully be able to have a different train of thought that will lead you to your own answer yourself. Yeah, I've been thinking about why do I do this podcast? Because I think in the past, this whole year, especially post-COVID, after things opened up, I got to meet so many of you in person, and so many of you, completely out of my expectation, came up to me and said, "Oh, I really enjoyed your episode," or "It changed my life. It helped me this and that. I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much." And it was then that made me realize, oh my God, that's a lot of pressure to have so many people. Just good vibes alone, guys. I think I met so many of you telling me the same thing, that you listen to my podcast, and I cannot thank you enough. I sometimes in person, sometimes when you just come up to me like that, I may not know what to say. I just say thank you. Just say thank you. I usually just say thank you. But right now that I've processed it, I still want to say thank you for listening. I think it makes a difference. That I know that I'm not alone, that I know I'm not doing this for nothing. And I know that even though I don't have an answer for you, I somehow make you feel a little bit better, or like have a little bit more confidence to find your answer. So yeah, thank you. That's crazy, you know? Like, I was just telling Joseph, baby, that's a lot of people that stopped us for pictures today. It's crazy, right? Like, I've been to so many good vibes. Never happened before. But I think this 2 years of pandemic, and that's when our podcast started, was when I started building this relationship with you. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy. And going back to the pressure that I felt, I was like, that the moment from the Good Vibes Weekender time, and I started realizing, oh my God, there people actually listen. Because guys, I am literally talking to a mic and 2 person in this room right now. So I sometimes don't know how many people are listening to this podcast. And if you do, you may not tag me, or you may not tell me that you listen to, because what's the point? I listen to so many podcasts and I don't tell them that I listen to them, right? So I like the number, I can't visualize it. So that experience kind of like lit up a light bulb in me that, shit, people listen to what I say. I need to be responsible. Although I think the whole idea about this podcast, like I said, is not to give you answers, but I do feel an immense amount of pressure to do the right thing. And after reflecting, I have to tell you, I don't even know what's the right thing. I don't even know what is the answer for myself in my own life. But it goes back to the DNA of what I do and everything that I do, is to just be the voice I've never had. And I'm going to stick to it. And I'm glad I can be that voice for you. And I want you to know that you are that voice for me every time you share your story with me. Even if it's only like 10 people, man, that's a lot to me. A lot. I don't need millions. I don't need millions. Just you choosing to open up your story to me means a lot. And I just want to thank you for that. So yeah, going back to therapy, how much is it per session? I can give you a range because I've done a couple of, I've inquired a few places. It ranges from obviously 50 ringgit, which are usually trainee therapists, to about 350 or 400 ringgit. My session is about 250 to 300 per session. And which is why I said I can finally afford it, because it is expensive. And I know that. And it sucks that everyone who needs, or people who needs mental health therapy, or like therapy to have better mental health, sometimes cannot afford it. And I was once there. And it's crazy, right? How expensive they can be. But after going to therapy, I understand why it's so expensive. It is a tough job. So if you can afford it, if you can set up aside some money for it, if you can talk to your therapist about, your financial situation and what's the best frequency for you to go to see her, do that. Because I did that. I told my therapist once, I'm like, in my first years, I'm like, I can afford you for like a few sessions in a year. I can't afford to come to see you every few weeks or every month. What can I do? So be honest. And finding therapy, it's like finding the right partner. The first one may not be the one for you. And if you don't feel good about your therapist, maybe it's time to change. You have to feel comfortable. You have to feel safe. You have to feel, I would say good. Sometimes therapy sessions can feel like meh after you come out, but you have to feel safe with your therapist. If your therapist in any way do not make you feel that way, it is time to question it and change. Okay? And I also want to put it out there that I do get a lot of questions about me sharing who exactly my therapist is and where do I go. And I want to put it out there that I'm so sorry, guys. I won't be able to share that because, like I said, it's a very safe space for me, and I don't feel safe sharing it with so many people on the internet. I feel like it will compromise my own safe space that I worked so hard to build. And I hope you can respect that, because I get a lot of questions. And I feel bad for not being able to tell you exactly who my therapist is, because I can't. Yeah, it's PNC, simply put. And I just want to say it out there because I feel like sometimes being in my position, people request for a lot of things. And me being me, I do feel bad when I cannot fulfill that for you. I don't know how to explain this. Not like I owe you anything as well, but I do feel that way, like I feel shit for not being able to share. But I try my best to find resources that you can go to and then make that decision for yourself. So yeah, I don't know. This episode is just me sharing my brain, like what's been in my head, what I've been talking to myself in the car all the time. And I actually came across this quote. Basically this Instagram page that I do follow, highly recommend. This I can recommend you. It's called The Holistic Psychologist, the holistic psychologist. Go follow her. She actually come up with a lot of bite-sized information that's very, very helpful. I listen to her as well. She does have a podcast, but she doesn't really update anymore. But I follow her on Instagram. That's where she's the most active. And this spoke to me so much. It says, childhood trauma doesn't come from what you experience. It can also be from what you don't experience. And some of the examples are no repair. For instance, when we are hurt or betrayed, repair is needed. Repair is when accountability is taken, apologies are made, and there's a direct acknowledgement of what will be different in the future. Because without repair, we don't learn healthy relationship. And you know what? For the past 20 plus years of my life, I do not know how to repair anything. Yeah, I'm going to let that sink in. Not blaming anyone here, but like I never grew up with any form of, how do I put this? I grew up with when the adults make a mistake, they settle it themselves. Even though the hurt was brought upon me as a child, I never heard any sorry. I've never heard any apology. I've never seen adults taking accountability of what they do. And that was my normal. And I'm sure that could be your normal for years and years as well. And what therapy taught me is the importance of repair work. And it's so important, but also so hard, because you need to face a lot of your own demons and a lot of your own ego, in my case, my ego, to hold yourself accountable, to say you're sorry, and to really put into work to repair. It's not just a simple sorry. Sometimes repair work is long. It's being aware and catching yourself and knowing when to acknowledge. And that's something that I've been learning to do. It has shifted the way my relationships are with people. But before this, when I say before this, it's not even long ago, yeah, guys. Maybe 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I don't even know how to repair anything. Or even repair relationship with myself, my own relationship with myself. Yeah. So yeah, all these things, even if you may not have the resources for therapy right now, I hope to bring on more therapists or psychologists to come on the show. Hopefully we'll be able to help you out as well with some of the topics that we'll be talking about. We did talk to someone, I think Sarah from Cara, in our first season. Or was it second season? Go check it out. Yeah, it was the second season. So sometimes there are a lot of resources these days, a lot of psychologists, therapists who have their own podcasts as well that you can listen to. So yeah, I would encourage you to do that if at the moment going for your own therapy is simply not viable. I think it's not the end of the world. I think there are still other ways to go for therapy, like talking to your friend, like listening to all these podcasts in the meantime. And as soon as you can afford, I would highly recommend you, because that would be a really one-on-one work that you get to do with your therapist, because whatever that you listen to on a podcast is so general, right? It may not apply to you. So you're really just trying to pick and choose what tools may relate to you. And sometimes the conversations that you have in therapy will be the kind of conversations that you never could imagine yourself having. And a good therapist will be able to prompt you and will be able to kind of like pick your brain and be able to work through the trauma that you've had. And the more you want to avoid a certain trauma, the more you should visit them. And that's been happening to me. Every time I talk about something, my therapist will be like, Maggie, I think it's time. Are you open to talk about this today? And I'll be like, no. That's when she'll be like, yep, we are talking about that today. So it's kind of like the more we avoid would mean the more we need to work on it. Because avoidance, the whole flight or fight mode, is also a way for us to take care for our body to kind of like protect ourselves from, which means that thing could be hurting us. So that's something that I've learned in therapy. You see how amazing therapy is? I don't know how to say this in words, because I'm not a therapist myself. I'm a patient myself. Is the word patient? Yeah. So I can only tell you that there will be sessions where you come out feeling, what the fuck? What happened? That was shit. That was such a shit therapy session, not therapist. Sorry, my therapist is awesome. Sorry. And then there will be some session will kind of like make you feel mind blown walking out of it. And then there will be some sessions where you will feel in so much pain. But in a few days, when you finally have that revelation in your own time, you'll feel better. So that's how therapy is for me. I have so many questions actually, but that you guys asked. But maybe let me just talk about what's the best day so far this year. And if you ask this question, thank you, because you made me really think. The best day for me this year was the day I moved to my new home, because owning my own place, it's so much more than just having it, taking a bucket list. It's finally a place that I can run to. It's finally a place that I can call home. Although I know home is where the heart is, but for years and years in my 20s, early 20s especially, my heart was everywhere. My heart was extremely unsettled. I was just seeking for things that was already in me myself, but I seeked it somewhere else, in bad relationships, bad people, So as much as I know home is where the heart is, I feel like now that I'm a completely different version of myself than when I was just 5 years ago. I feel that this space that I own, unless I don't pay mortgage, then the bank will take it back away from me, is a space that I can feel safe in. And because for years I moved from places to places, it's so tiring to have to start all over again and again and again. It's tiring to make a home out of a space. Yes, I felt at home in a lot of the space that I've lived in. But at the back of my head, I can't help but to think, one day I'm going to have to move out anyway. What's the point? Right? So that's why I felt like I was so tired of that. Like, okay, when is the landlord going to kick me out? Maybe this one, he want to sell the house in a few years. Then I have to go again. So it's just that starting over that I was already so tired of. And yeah, that's why that's the best day of my life, because the moment I stepped in, I rolled my pineapple and I say, finally, this is mine. It's surreal. It's crazy. It's overwhelming. I haven't cried yet. Someone told me that I will cry on the first night I move in. I didn't cry. Maybe because my house still looked very empty. So I'm going to really put in the time to kind of like deck it up as soon as I can. So yeah, and actually one of you actually wrote in here, it says, no one actually talks about how refreshing and yet exhausting starting over feels like, moving home, moving cities. How do I cope with the stress? And looking back, how do you feel now? And what's one advice you would tell the past you? Yeah, like I said, it's very tiring. It's very exhausting. Although it's exciting that you're going to be in a new space. I'm not going to, discount that. It's very exciting to be able to move into a new space. Like you get to start all over again. Like a blank slate. Like a fresh new page that you can just do whatever you want. It is also very exhausting. What's the one advice? My one advice is really do what you can now. I don't think there's much you can do. If you have to start all over again, you do it. Do what you can now and really just go with the flow, because people who have to do that, who have to live that way, you need to learn to be flexible. You need to learn how to adapt. So having the skills to adapt is so, so important. So if you are right now in your life where you are constantly having to start all over again, just know that it's fine. Not everyone wants to buy a house too. Not everyone wants to settle down too. And there is beauty in being able to start all over again from time to time. It's like you have to choose your pain, Some people find excitement. Yes, it's tiring, but the excitement exceeds the exhaustion. So that could be worth it for you. So you need to find your pain. Don't know if you read the book, The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. You need to find... Okay. Sorry, there's renovation going on. You need to find what you want to give a fuck about. And you give a fuck about that. That's all I can tell you. Because I can't give you a blanket statement and say, oh, you eventually buy a house, you eventually get there. That's not for everyone. Not everybody wants to buy a house. Not everybody wants to own a home and have that kind of commitment. And that's okay. I don't know why I want that commitment. That's something for me to think about. One day I'll tell you why. But right now, it's making me happy. The pain of having to spend so much money that I've saved up for, it's very fulfilling for me. And that's the fuck I want to give. And that's the pain that's also giving me life. It's like giving birth, It's so fucking painful. Who wants to do that? But it's worth it for some people. So they do it over and over again. So for some people, they like to start all over. And there's nothing wrong with that too. So yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it does. And it's been a while since I read a book properly because I have short attention span. But I thought it would be funny to ask myself the 3 questions I always ask my guests before we wrap up. But I pretty much answered all 3 questions in this entire episode. The first one, what are you currently head over heels for? I'm head over heels for the growth that I had as a person, because it is manifesting in my relationships very differently with everyone. And I am head over heels for my new home that I can't wait to share when it's done. It's a long process, guys. Just let me tell you that. And second one, what's the best or worst advice you've ever received? There's nothing wrong with not winning. This is something that my high school teacher told me. Oh my God, Mr. T. I totally forgot his full name. I'm so sorry. I was at a solar panel. I built a solar cooker when I was standard Form 2. And I went for competitions and I actually went up to the national level. But I lost at the national level. And I beat myself up because I was in first place all the way until national level, right? But at national level, I was not. And I went crazy when they didn't call my name because I expected myself to win lah. You know, that's how kiasu I am. And I cried and cried and cried because I traveled all the way. I mean, I was from Ipoh and I traveled all the way down to JB or something just for the competition. And my teacher told me, Mr. T came up to me, Magdalene, that's my name lah. Sometimes in life, you don't have to win. You don't have to have it all. It's the process along the way that will make a difference. It's the process that you will remember. And I said, no, teacher, I want to win. I didn't win. I'm a loser. But yeah, it's true, you know. Like now, how can you win all the time? It's tiring to win all the time. I don't think I've been winning in life. But have I been enjoying my journey? Hell yeah. So, yeah. That's all I have. And 3 words to describe my life right now. Content, growth. Well, I want to say innovation. What the hell? No. Just throwing out words. Content, growth, and love. Yeah, love. Learning how to love, learning how to be loved, and learning how to give love. Yeah, that's a big part of my life right now. So yes, with that, we end today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I know, guys, I actually never asked you this before, but it would be so nice if you could rate our podcast if you have been enjoying listening to it, because I feel like I do want to bring this podcast somewhere, and I can't do it without you. And just by rating it, just like how I say voting is very simple, just one vote, right? You just vote for me lah. Yeah, I think if you can rate us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, that would be so good. If you have, I don't know if you can leave a review on Spotify. I don't think so, but Apple Podcasts you can. I would love to know and hear from you how this podcast has given you value, or how it has accompanied you in your drives home, and how I can do better as well. I think it's not so much about just getting that 5-star. If it's a 1-star, I want to know why I only got a 1-star. It makes a difference for us with our upcoming episodes and our upcoming seasons to do better for you. And with that, I'm going to end today's episode with, don't forget to follow Head Over Heels for yourself first and always. And I hope to do more episodes like this in the next time. And I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye, take care, and stay safe. Don't forget to vote.